Should be able to hear me now, but it won't be very good. Yeah, I can see it working. So let me see if I can go back to this one. All right, so that one's working. That microphone is not good. Can you hear me now? I know you can hear me, but I don't think that mic is very good. I hope this microphone something hasn't gone wrong with it. It's plugged in. It's all there. I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't sound the best. Let me just look let me unplug this microphone and plug it back in. Okay. Let me just see if that works. Sorry, I gotta get away. All right, now there. All right, that should work. I just unplugged it and plugged it in another slot. You should hear me now. You should. Yeah, it's better than no sound. Better than no sound. Let me look at that one, Nikolai. Let me look at that one. Hang on. HNRA. Yeah, up 32 cents, 233. Nikolai, HNRA is a perfect example of how the criminals on Wall Street suck all the upside out from the CEO, and then the CEO is left treading like a hamster on a wheel. Wall Street is just institutionalized theft so that a few people at the top can get rich. The rest of us are suckers, forever believing them. Forever believing them. E.F. Hutton spoke. It's almost pool time. Are you at the pool? That sounds fun, just to hang out by the pool. Check out the babes. Order a drink. Read a book, fall asleep. That's kind of fun. All right, Bill Michael. Great, good for you. I've been on a little bit of a campaign about this transfer because I didn't realize that the information is so bad out there about it's confused. The way it's been presented to you leaves you standing there wondering, why should I move? And let me just check one thing before I forget. Yeah. I mean, it seemed really odd to me that people were even questioning whether they should move to Nextbridge or not. And then I started getting some of the feedback on what you're being told, and no wonder you're confused. On the other hand, you really can do whatever you want. I I want to know that I did my best efforts to get you to change to your certificates. This is a real asset. MMTLP is not a real asset. As I've cataloged in a video two videos. I just did one this morning as well, and it should be up there. The video I did this morning took the Torchlight presentation where they own 72.5%. I took you through the news announcements from Nextbridge. They now own 100%. So I adjusted it for that. And then the Torchlight presentation says that potential hydrocarbon resource recoverable, low side is 2.3 billion barrels. I took the 2.3 billion, the low side, not the high side of 5 billion barrels. And this was written 5 years ago, approximately. I took the low side, adjusted it for 100%. I came up with a number. I chopped it in half again, and I came up with this number for your Nextbridge hydrocarbon shares value right now as we speak. Now that number, I think, is very low, but also it is predicated on the company doing, this is kind of you can't sell it for that now. And they might not even be able to raise money at that value now. Who knows? But it's predicated on the company moving forward with its drilling program, which they are doing. They are doing. They're going to prove up their asset, which is this whole thing here. I don't know if there's a map. I don't know if there's a map that shows the full extent of their acreage. I don't see one that I have printed out. But anyway, the point is that as they prove that up, you're going to become aware of what it's worth. And I think that door on the bus is going to, all aboard, they're going to swing the thing and it'll go, and you can't get on the bus. Right now, there's so much intentional misdirection out there that you're standing frozen. But if I'm right, and this, I mean, I think this is so low. I think this is so conservative. But this is what your Nextbridge shares are worth. Your shares of MMTLP, and I did this already if you saw the video. I quoted from the FINRA fact list of March 16th. I just quoted two things. They highlighted what Meta Materials did, and it said on November 23, 2022, Meta Materials issued an announcement of their corporate action stating that each holder of MMTLP gets one share of Nextbridge. Meta Materials also stated Nextbridge shares would be distributed to MMTLP shareholders on December 14, 2022. Well, I'm sure that was done because they announced it, Nextbridge announced it. But included in those distributions are these big blobs of street name, which are sitting at Fidelity, in the name of Fidelity, in the name of Morgan Stanley, whomever. And if this process were so seamless, why didn't we get our shares automatically? Obviously, there's something wrong. All right, and then it says further, which is we have to listen to this. Meta Materials said the shares would be distributed on December 14th, at which time all MMTLP shares would be automatically canceled. So what's in your account that says MMTLP, it's canceled. Doesn't exist. What it is, it's a bookkeeping entry to keep track of your broker dealer's obligation to you. That's all it is now. That's all it is. And then to be determined is how they calculate that obligation, when they pay that obligation, and if they pay that obligation. And what the Twitter people are doing and others, the professors and the lobbyists, they're trying to convince Congress there's no value. They're trying to convince Congress we're a bunch of idiots that should have done a better job. We shouldn't be managing our own money. Only the vaunted guys on Wall Street can do that. So they're trying to convince that MMTLP is indeed worthless. And then simultaneously, my opinion, they're trying to infiltrate Nextbridge so that Nextbridge will start trading, or they'll have a blockchain or a token, and then the street can magnify that with many different derivative products and crush the price. They want to cause Nextbridge to experience the same pain and suffering that you saw in MMAT, MULN, DBMM. They're trying to do it in Finger, the Wolf, the list just and HNRA. The list goes on and on. That the leverage they can put on by creating massive amounts of non-located, non-borrowed, non-delivered shares from offshore, from anywhere, and they hide behind that it's derivatives. So anyway, it says right here in the FINRA thing that MMTLP is canceled. So who would be advising you? Who would be advising you to hang on to a canceled security? And what would be their motive? And if they're so bleeding intelligent, why are they doing it if they have your best interests at heart? It says right here, MMTLP is canceled. Now, the next thing, this is a much more minor point, but MMTLP halted with FINRA's deletion of the MMTLP symbol on December 13th. So MMTLP is nothing, but you're being told to hang on to it. It gives you more choices. It doesn't give you any more choices. Right now you have a choice. And best numbers I can see. I also on the video I just did, I pulled out the Nextbridge announcement of their statement on the spinoff, and they announced on February 16th that the spinoff occurred then. Sorry, let me read the sentence instead of abbreviating it. Nextbridge, a private oil and gas exploration and production company, today provided the below summary in connection with its spinoff on December 14, 2022 from Metamaterials. And so they're acknowledging it's all done. They did what they had to do. And they point out that at the time of the spinoff, Meta distributed 165,472,241 shares of the outstanding shares of the company's common stock. Now, I would argue that that number is even exaggerated because of the destruction of Meta by the counterfeiters. But let's leave that. I haven't done any. I hesitate to call it an analysis, but I didn't look and see what happened to the outstanding shares of Meta before they started getting, once they rolled into Torchlight. This outstanding counterfeit share problem is across Torchlight, MMAT, MMTLP, and they're trying to make it happen to Nextbridge. They're trying anything they can. They want us to freeze because what they're hoping for is that Nextbridge gets tied up legally, can't raise money, and loses its leases. That's the bottom line. That's what they're trying anything. But you're well educated now. You understand the criminal mind. It's puny, it's unimaginative, it is crafty, but they only have one thing: get the company to issue shares at low prices, just like what happened with CAUD, Aubrey Advisors disaster. But we're fighting back. And in the video I did this morning, which should be up anytime, it's clear from all these announcements that Nextbridge is fighting for you. They're fighting for themselves too. So the question comes, why would you leave MMTLP, which is canceled and deleted? And by the way, it says here in the FINRA drivel, I didn't read this. December 14th, 2022, at which time all MMTLP shares would be automatically canceled, and MMTLP holders would cease to have any rights with respect to those shares. Who's telling you to hang on to MMTLP, that it gives you more options? I moved my first shares, and I know I'm being repetitive, but I just want to hammer it home. While the doors on the bus are open, I want to hammer this home. The doors won't always be open. But I transferred my first shares on August 1, 2023. I was so excited to get those. That's almost a year ago. I was like, there's no way I'm going to get these shares. Everybody must have already asked for their shares. I was so glad. I went through the same shock you guys did. I went through the halls of Congress. I eyeball to eyeball with legislative aides, with the incredulous, the sympathetic, the one or two aides that really wanted to get involved. But after doing it for many trips and many days, it didn't seem to me Congress was going to do anything right away. I still don't think they're going to do anything right away. So I moved these shares in, and I must have initiated it maybe, I don't know, I don't remember, maybe in May or June. I don't know when I initiated it. But I got them in on August 1, and I was so excited. I went, at least I know these 3,005 shares I believe they're worth right now, at the most conservative, most bloody conservative, 37.50. But when I say right now, what I mean is, I don't think I could sell them for that right now. I think if I look forward to what the company is doing, and I take all those efforts, which could take another 1 or 2 years or longer, and just cut it down to its barest of minimum, I think these shares will be worth 37.50. And at a minimum, I mean, I think this is just the most conservative number at all. I'll try to do the higher number right after I get done with blabbing. So what does that mean it's worth to me? It's not much, maybe, to most of you, but it's $112,000. These shares might be worth $112,000. Now I paid 3 times 8. I paid 24,000 for it. So, I'm sick to my stomach that I don't have access. Initially, I was, not anymore, but I was sick to my stomach. I want to trade this. I want to get it into Finger. I want to do whatever. I want to pay my bills. But the fact is, those 2 days of trading were taken from us, and the argument is that somehow Congress is going to give us those 2 days trading back. You don't want them back because they can't recreate the pressure at that time. If they open this up for trading again, which they will not, you're lucky to get 5 cents a share, 10 cents a share, because they won't bid. The criminals won't bid. You can tell them they have to, they're not going to. So, in my judgment. So anyway, I got so excited to get that, but I left my other shares in my IRA, partly to see what happened, partly to be able to talk about it, but also partly because I didn't want to suffer any tax consequences. Well, then this year, I really got worried about what I was hearing about all the arguments out there. Well, you didn't do this, you should have seen this. And it was another many months that had gone by. And I started thinking to myself, you know what? You're trying to save potential tax consequences, but you might get zero back. Now, it's not as much money. It's 1,264 shares. So I paid 10 grand for this in my IRA. Now, transferring it out of my IRA, I thought I had to pay 10%, but I don't because I'm old. I also thought if it had a value, I would have to pay taxes on that value. But then I looked at the most recent transaction that I think it was John Berta did on these. I have it here somewhere. Transactions. They announced transactions. They issued 22.5 million shares April 1 for the Valentine, Panther, Cowboy, and Packer prospects. And it looks like they might have gotten $1 million back, but it's net revenue. It doesn't say they got it right up front. And then they're going to get a location fee. Doesn't sound like they got it right up front. But my point being, from a tax perspective, moving my shares out of my IRA, here's a quote unquote comp. There's all the blather on various spaces to say it's worthless. There's the fact that FINRA says it's canceled. I think by transferring my MMTLP to the transfer agent, there's a very strong argument that there's nothing to tax coming out of my IRA. Now, I will seek the advice. I can't find it. My old accountant won't return my call. Doesn't want to work with me, I guess, and or retired or something. So I need to find an accountant. I will seek an accountant's advice. But anyway, I decided, you know what? I'm going to move it out. So I moved my shares from my IRA to my regular account. So whatever the tax consequences of that, I've accepted as my responsibility. I don't think it's going to be very much. Maybe $1 or $2 a share, but it could be zero. Now, I paid 10,000 for this. If this lowest of low calculations comes true, which I think it will, that's why I did it at a low number, this is worth 50 grand. So look, I don't think we're going to see those kind of numbers right away, but you're not going to see them right away in MMTLP either. And I think if the negativos out there have their way, the company Nextbridge will have a hard time. And in that case, maybe it'll be very hard to get value. So anyway, when I put in my IRA transfer, I said to myself, there is no way I'm going to get these shares. It's so obvious that everybody's going to have moved their counterfeit MMTLP. I said to myself, I can't believe you still have a chance. It's been over a year and you can still move your shares. I couldn't believe my luck. And then I called in. It took about 6 phone calls. And what they tell me, it took them 6 weeks. I think it took me about 8 weeks. But according to their records, it took 6 weeks. And I just assumed I'll never see these. I'm going to be stuck in the morass of owning MMTLP like I originally decided to. And I'm going to have to go through lawsuits. I'm going to have to come up with money. It's going to be a pain in the butt. But then a FedEx came and I got my shares. I was so excited. I can't believe it. So between the two, it's like, even at these low numbers, let's say in 18 months, 2 years, 2.5 years, I might get 150 grand out of it. Well, that time's going to go by anyway. And I think it's going to go by with all this settlement talk. And at least I'm in the real asset. And man, that heated up. That heated up so quickly. That didn't take more than half an hour to go to red hot. Well, anyway. Anyway, my point is, I personally could not believe that I was so lucky to be able to get my real shares. I just didn't think it was going to happen, and I did get them. As far as I can tell, we don't know the numbers, but as far as I can tell, there's plenty of shares still available because people have been frozen into inaction. But the argument that we were going to get a settlement from Congress, and people say, oh, it's coming, it's coming. Well, it hasn't. So why is it going to now? The argument that we have legal rights, we're going to get a settlement, it hasn't. And by the way, we can't afford a legal battle. And you still got to pierce the arbitration clause. And then the argument that the regulators are going to do anything, I think that's been shown to be completely false. They're not going to do anything. So where's this mystic money going to come from? Who is going to fight the cause? The guys on Twitter and the guys and girls on Twitter? They haven't initiated any lawsuits. So where's our settlement going to come from? Now, the one thing that could change everything, 2 things could change everything. One is an arrest. In one of these Nextbridge press releases, I won't find it, I read it on my video. They say that they're working with state attorney generals. That was earlier this year. So it could be a state arrest somebody, or it could be the FBI or the IRS arrest somebody. That would speed it up quickly. But then, who's paying for our attorneys? Who's paying for our seat at the table? We're just going to end up relying on the integrity of Greg McCabe, which I think's bravo. I think that's great. Well, if we're going to rely on Greg McCabe anyway, and all those people to fight for us, one, why don't we put our fake MMTLP over into the real asset? It's there for the taking. I couldn't believe it for myself. I have it. I'm so happy. Doesn't mean it's going to work out. It's not it's not a guarantee, but I'll tell you one thing, it's a real asset. And then it's Greg McCabe. So if we're relying on Greg McCabe to carry our water in the settlement process, why not rely on Greg McCabe to carry our water to create shareholder value for us in the real asset? It's a no-brainer to me. It's a complete no-brainer. And I think there's people with motives. They either see things for some reason obtusely that it gives you a lot of choice to say an MMTLP. I'm telling you, once the doors shut on the bus, you only have one choice: to hope somebody carries out a lawsuit, because you're not going to be able to afford a lawsuit. To hope somebody carries out a campaign in Congress that counteracts the high-priced lobbyists that the banksters hire. To hope that Gary Gensler all of a sudden is an honest man. These are really specious assumptions, and as far as I can tell. But maybe they'll come out. Maybe. But in the meantime, all of that's going to take time. If we help Greg McCabe find out who his shareholders are and allow him to go to Congress, he just has to pull out from his quiver this arrow that says, here, I've printed out with some names redacted, I've printed out our shareholder list. These are the physical shares at the transfer agent. It's 165 million. So Honorable Ms. Wagner, Honorable Ms. Waters, Honorable guy wearing a bow tie, Honorable Mouse Ginsburg, Honorable DEI hire Friedman. This puts, and he's such a gentleman. He's such a gentleman. He'd say, look, I'm not trying to contradict Wall Street. I'm not assuming that FINRA is trying to mislead you. I'm not making any assumptions that Fidelity doesn't believe what they're saying is true and that they're actually trying to pull the wool over your eyes. All I have to tell you is that the books at Nextbridge are completely reconciled. Every single physical share is spoken for. So any shares of MMTLP, which do not exist anymore, by the way, which represent a transfer, obligation to transfer one for one, and they'll be in the contracts that they can settle that for cash. It'll be in the broker-dealer agreements the broker agreements we signed. So we don't even know if they'll settle in cash at the value that's fair. If Nextbridge is successful, their net asset value not only will grow, it'll continue growing as time goes by. So the settlement process will always be chasing its tail, and they'll end up printing a settlement for cash. I don't think you can buy back your Nextbridge shares for the cash they'll settle it for. But if you want to take that risk, it's up to you. You can take that risk. But right now, if we give that power to Greg McCabe, he can just quietly, the gentleman that he is, say, ma'am, Your Honor, Senator, I hear what you're saying. I hear that you believe the system did nothing wrong and the system can deliver one share of Nextbridge for every share of the placeholder that they have in their accounts called MMTLP. But I'm here to tell you in this open hearing that if that's the case, I don't know the laws of physics that would allow it. Because here, in evidence, is 165,400,000 shares fully spoken for. Every single one is a name of a person. There are shareholders. So anything in the brokerage accounts, our shares are spoken for. So that's left to you to sort it. I'll leave it to you to sort it. You can duke that out amongst yourselves. But we as a company are very happy. We know our shareholders, and we're going to go about making them rich. That's one thing we can do. We can give him the shareholder count. The other thing is, if we do it quickly, he just settled this one lawsuit. But if we do it quickly, we can help him. He has to drill 5 wells by the end of the year and complete them. If we move our shares, it helps him raise money to the extent he needs to. I'm not sure he needs to. He's been very clever trading, horse trading properties in Louisiana, but he needs to drill at least to the minimum. I don't know the lease requirements. It may be just vertical wells, 5 vertical wells into the zone. I don't know. Maybe a horizontal. He just needs to get that done by the end of the year to hold the lease. He also needs, probably this year, but maybe next year, certainly at some point, he's going to have to pay to extend the leases. I don't know the contract, but that could be $100 an acre. It could be $25 an acre. Some leases, it can be very expensive, but I have a feeling it's not all that expensive. But these are steps that if we can help him clear up this confusion that the other side wants this in, they want it in limbo, so we can't move forward. Let's help Greg McCabe get out of limbo, and he can do those things that improve our per share value. And I'm going to do, just for, this is my lowest valuation. I'm going to do a valuation. That was based on the low case. That was based on the low case from 5 years ago. I'm going to use the high side of 5 billion barrels. I'll do it quickly. Then I'll shut up. I know you want me to shut up. Could you just shut up? All right, so I'm going to use 5 billion barrels. That's the high side from the Torchlight presentation. Recoverable barrels. Obviously, this is a little more pie in the sky, but I'm going to divide 5 billion. Well, I got to get the right. There we go. 5 billion. Divide that by 0.725 to reflect that now they own 100%. Before they owned 72.5%. So that makes 6,896,551. So I'm going to call it 6.9 billion. I'll call it 6.9 billion barrels. We're talking about what they may have proven up, let's say in 18 months, 24 months. Okay, 6.9 billion. And this is going to crush the criminals. I don't know why you wouldn't be on the side of doing what you can to help crush the criminals. Okay, so what number? Exxon bought Pioneer, which is a producing, mature operation, almost manufacturing. They bought it for $30 a barrel of proven reserves. In my example that got to the low number, I took that $30 and I used $10 instead of $30 as the value for the oil in the ground. In this case, I'm going to use 15. I'm going to use half of it, $15. Why? Oil back then was 60. It's now 80. I'm going with the high case So I'm going to assume that it's more valuable to acquirers because it's a lot of oil. I'm going to use $15 per barrel, cash or stock. That gives a value of $103 billion of oil in the ground as a purchase or JV. Now, the amount of shares outstanding are 252 million. So you divide that out. And it gives $410 a share. $410 a share. And you want to leave it to a settlement run by Congress people and senators and others? Okay, so 410. What I did to risk the other thing, I cut that in half. So that would be 205. And then I cut it in half again in the low case example to come up with 37.5. I don't think I'll do that this time. I think I'll just call it $200 a share because I'm trying to be optimistic in this example, not 100% negative. So my argument is in 18 months or so, maybe 2 years, it's possible that that Nextbridge is worth $200 a share. My shares could be worth $800,000. That's me. That's me. That's what mine could be. But that's what it is per share. You can calculate for yourself. I don't know why. What would induce you to leave your shares over at your brokerage firm, which has already lied to you? What would keep you there? I mean, you might get $3 a share. This is a chance. For me, if I got that kind of money, I'd probably go to um, I don't know, southern Spain, Italy, Portugal. Anyway, all right. I promised I'd shut up. Now let's just look and see if there's any price action in our stocks. Kodak's up. That's about it. Buck Thanar, Trump elected will tank the price of oil. Well, that's not true. That's not true, Buck. I mean, you can't predict oil prices for sure. And I've always made the mistake of doing that. And it's very hard to do it. But no, we're not in a world where the price of oil is run out of the White House anymore. There's Trump doesn't understand. He talks about how much oil we have in this country, and he's amazingly correct a lot of times. But in Saudi Arabia, you could not so much anymore, by the way. Maybe in the UAE, maybe in Iraq, but in Saudi Arabia, you used to be able to spend you could spend 1 barrel of oil and find 200 barrels of oil. Just leave money out of it. Now in the United States, with a lot of this horizontal drilling, although some of these zones here are conventional, but the unconventional zones, it's probably you spend 1 barrel, you find 4. That's a huge difference. So you're spending more energy to find less. If you want to do that in dollar terms, you can do it in dollar terms. The other thing, Buck Thanar, is called decline rates. Any well you produce in the United States, in the world, any field discovery you find has a decline curve. And you have to be drilling and putting money into the field or into the country reserve fields at a rate to at least meet and match that decline rate. We're not doing that right now. We're not doing it offshore. We're not doing on federal lands, and we're not doing it so much in natural gas either. And part of that is because of natural gas prices. So you in order for Trump to tank the price of oil, as you so eruditely present it, he has to catch up with all the underinvestment that has occurred to date. What will tank the price of oil, I think, is a recession. A depression will tank the price of oil. A worldwide depression. But Buck, that's going to happen anyway, if it's going to happen. Would you rather be an MMTLP while there's a depression, or do you want to be in a stock which might pay dividends even in a depression? Now, I would argue we are headed to some sort of financial catastrophe, but I don't think the United States financial system is going to allow the dollar or our bond markets to be under attack until we go to war first. And war means just consuming oil on levels you've never seen before. So it's also possible that under Biden, under Hillary, if we go to war with Russia, which we're with already, if we go to war with the Middle East, which we are standing with Israel now, if we go to war with China, Pelosi flew to Taiwan, we're going to be burning a lot of oil. A lot of oil. So it's just hard to predict what would happen to the price of oil. But let's use your term tank, the price of oil. I used, in my lowest example, $10 a barrel. So right now, oil, the WTI is $78.48. You have to do a lot of tanking to get it down to $10. Buck. I don't buy that. That's a very simplistic bumper sticker argument. And do what you want to do. If you feel that if Trump's elected, oil will, quote, tank, therefore you'd rather hang on to a counterfeit, canceled, deleted book entry that says MMTLP, that according to FINRA, well, they're quoting Meta, I guess, but it's in the FINRA release. MMTLP holders as of December 14th would cease to have any rights with respect to those shares. So if your argument is, leave me out of Nextbridge, I'd rather hold on to MMTLP, which as of December 14th, 2022, ceased to have any rights with respect to Nextbridge shares, go ahead. I guess you've done a better analysis of it than I did. If you wanted to sell in the future, who buys your shares? The company. Uh, I think the most likely thing over the next 18 months to 24 months, and we don't have a choice. We're stuck in that scenario. I believe it's 18 months to 24 months, even if you just decide stay in the counterfeit MMTLP. I think legal, congressional, duking it out, 250 attorneys, big payday. They're not going to settle it up very quickly. So I still think either way, it's a couple of years away, give or take. But I think what's possible, Bill, if you have Nextbridge, the real physical shares, there may be a payout from operations, and I would almost guarantee that the management of Nextbridge wants to do that to help everybody. Helps themselves too. They own a lot of the stock. So I think you'll see a distribution from operations, even if after they drill these 5 wells, even if it's just that they flip a project and they leave some in the money in the kitty to buy acreage and drill up for capex, but maybe they do a little bit of a distribution. So you might get that. But no, Bill, the most likely sale, will be the whole company to an acquirer. That would be either in the form of an outright sale, so you would get shares of Chevron, for example, or it might be a joint venture. And in a JV, there might be a share paid up front, and then they carry the cost of drilling. But that's probably the most likely way that your shares will start to trade. There's this talk of blockchain. I'm 100% against it until and who the hell knows what I'm talking about, right? But until I would be assured that Wall Street wouldn't gimmick it, I wouldn't do anything. I would just stay private. And so you're right. One thing would be the company could buy back your shares. It could also be, Bill, that even as a private company, they could do a share offering, and it could be issuing new shares to investors, but it could also have a portion of exit. Let's make it up. They raise $300 million and later on, not now, later on, and 200 million of it is newly issued shares. 100 million of it is existing shareholders, and then you just get in line. And they might do something like that. They may just do an offering to let people get out of their stock. I don't know. But Bill, the other thing might be that if the company can win this war against the criminals, they don't owe anything to MMTLP. They don't owe anything to the short sellers. And let's say it's 18 months from now and the stock's worth $100 a share. They may be able to go public on a foreign exchange in South Korea. They may be able to go on a Chinese exchange, which is more honest. A communist country's exchange is more honest than the United States. But anyway, there may be a way to trade out at that time. But right now, there is no gray market. I think one will develop. There is no gray market. If the company starts showing that publicizing its value of reserves, there will be people willing to buy your shares. There will be. and perhaps the company would facilitate that. I don't know. Wow. I really like this stock, NWBO. I wanted to buy some, so I guess I'll miss out on this trade. But Northwest Bio, if FDA approval comes, the stock will go up. The retail money will pour in, and then the criminals will short it back down. So the dynamic will be there could be a rush up, and the criminals force it back down, or there's a rush up and it causes buy-ins. If I had to pick what's going to happen, it'll run and they'll get it back down no matter how long it takes. So if it runs up, be willing to trade some of it. And I like the story. I'm not being negative, but learn from GTII, Finger, GME, AMC, and etc. If there's a whoosh up, take some money off because I think they'll drive it back down. Where you're going to make your money, Pete, in Northwest Bio is some big drug company is going to buy Northwest Bio. So if the FDA approval comes, that might start the shopping of the company to Johnson and Johnson, to Gilead Sciences, to Moderna. And then I think you'll see a buyout and you'll have a huge profit. You'll have a huge profit in my judgment. Hey, Red Pepper Ronnie. This thing is already overheating. I can't believe it. Oh, Ham did call just a few minutes ago. Hang on, let me get him.
Hello.
Hey, did you? I didn't see you called.
Battery 80%. Connected.
I'm trying to get the speaker. Okay, there it's on. If you want to talk to everybody, you can. I know you're feeling poorly. Huh?
Wrong with me.
Huh?
I'm actually just hitting up food poisoning, but I don't have any of those symptoms.
Oh, well, you're live now. Do you want to tell everybody?
Yeah, why not? I have a severe stomach ache. I don't know what the hell it is, but my wife, everyone thinks it's some sort of form of gas. So if anyone has I'm taking gas X and we'll see what happens. But I was up all night and that's it. So I'm tired now and I'm dealing with these shitheads keep selling the stock. It doesn't make it fun. But anyway, people keep asking me. Chicken Chow Mein just asked me. He said a chart guy said it's going lower, and I spoke to a chart guy. He says if they put the news out about the special dividend, he sees the stock go between 7-10, like you've been saying, William. He's going to find a new level.
Right, that's what I think, a new level.
Right, so that's what I said, and I said, okay. I just told him that what he told me. Listen, if I was short the stock, you know what I'd be saying? The next level is $1 is 98 cents. That's what I would be saying. They could say anything. It's a head game. If you can't see the manipulation daily, I posted this morning at 7:30, all the 1 shares, 2 shares, 5 shares that were trading pre-market. Who wakes up in the morning to sell 5 shares? Just to market down. That's what they're doing. And look, if you notice, they're attacking GameStop, DJT. We got locked in with them, and AMC and Finger Motion. We wanted to be with the big boys. We're here. The problem is that these guys, where are they going with it? The company is a real company, has fundamentals, and where are they going? Don't get me wrong, I'm not happy about it, but I look at it like they're going down a dead end road. And I understand people are not happy. I got it. We know it. We're trying, screaming all weekend. But just remember, the SEC is allowing this to go on. They know 100% who we are. They know 100% about Finger Motion. They know 100% about Lynn Partners, besides GameStop and all the other nonsense. The GameStop thing is a little different. for those who are not paying attention, the shorts were negotiated with the company and covered their short positions. So that stock has gone from a short squeeze candidate to a fundamental play with $4 billion in cash. What he uses the money for, I don't know what he's going to do with it, but that now he has to transform it into a real company. He sold out to get the money. Everyone had a squeeze. I personally think he was forced to sell it because I think he had issues with Bed Bath & Beyond. And the SEC cut a deal with him and said, we'll drop the lawsuit if you sell the shares to the shorts. And that's what I think he did. AMC did the same thing. They sold out the shares, the shorts cover at the bottom. And what that tells me is every time it does rally, and they do have a problem, that the pattern is set, William, that they'll go back to the company each time and just keep doing it.
Right.
DJT, for those that are not paying attention, headline this morning, they will punish the short sellers. I don't know. Sounds pretty aggressive to me.
Of course, they get the stock down. Fearless.
I can't. This is going to be the next president of the United States. Do you think he's going to allow this to continue?
No, I don't.
I
don't know. I don't know. I mean,
listen. No matter what, when he gets in, it's going to be taken care of. So I believe it's going to happen before then. I've been saying it, counting the days. I just can't believe that the SEC is allowing this to go on. When Trump goes in, he should come in and basically execute all these people that have protected these criminals. All of them. From the head of Goldman Sachs to the head of JP Morgan, all of them belong in jail. And someone posted that what's that gentleman's name from San Francisco? They appointed the Chinese lady to be, I guess, part of the government. And she's not even a citizen.
Bill Wong? No.
No, in San Francisco. Stallworth, maybe, is that his name?
Milk? Harvey Milk? I don't know.
The guy that was dating the Chinese spy. What was his name?
Oh, the Chinese spy, that guy. Wang, woo, woo.
San Francisco is appointed a Chinese woman who's not even a citizen to the board of the state or the city or whatever. And I said, everyone's yelling, I'm like, hey, the Chinese at least throw the criminals in jail. Over here, we just let them run rampant. So, maybe it's a good thing. We get some of those people on boards. I'm looking at it from the opposite way now. This is so stupid that we're watching this. And I've never seen it like this before. This is like unheard of. Usually it's small companies fighting for their lives. But to go after the stock that the president of the United States is behind and trying to destroy it, I can't see how that's going to play out too well. I know it sucks. I'm watching it go down myself. I have friends that bought it. Just amazing. I posted from my friend Paul. Charles Schwab has been calling him up to borrow his shares. He has a pretty sizable position, and they tried to borrow his CBM and his finger motion. And like a good person, he told him to go fuck himself. He knows it. Everybody knows what's going on. And that's where we stand. I recapped almost everything for you.
Well, there's an interesting stock that you used to follow. Northwest Bio apparently has FDA approval coming and the stock's going up. But I just warn people that
what price is it?
It's 48 cents, 49 cents. It's up 10%.
Listen, if you want to take a shot, now's the time to do it. The worst you're going to get is 40 cents. The worst, if it fails, you sell it at 40 cents, 38 cents. If it works, who knows where it can go?
Exactly.
I hope it works. I don't know. A lot of people know about that stock. A lot of insiders.
Eric Swalwell, that's it. Eric Swalwell.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah.
He's also the one that passed a massive gassive on the microphone when he was interviewed. It's gross. Once I saw it, that's whenever I see him, that's all I can remember is that he did that, and he pretended it didn't happen.
He should have blamed the reporter.
Blame it on
Trump.
Trump. Wow, what's MBIO? MBIO. Let me look. MBIO. It's up 77 cents to 90 cents. It's up 600%. Mustang Bio.
I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. I know nothing about it. If you owned it at 30 cents, so
Get out. Take your money off, or at least take your original money off the table.
Sell half of it. Sell 70%, and move and hold on to 30 if you believe whatever else happening.
It's some sort of Waldenstein macrobulimia phase 1/2 clinical trial. Look, whenever they announce some great news, it goes up, but the criminals know the company needs to raise money, and it'll just go back down.
That's what they'll do. It's
Probably.
It's the same pattern. Just if you're lucky enough to own it, sell 70%, keep 30%.
Mark, you're in at 31 cents and it's 90 cents. Sell a third. Take your original off. Let the rest go for free if you want, but at least sell half, make a little bit of a profit.
You won't lose. There you go.
Well, I know, Ham, you've spoken directly to the SEC, so you know. Why is the SEC's dividend approval taking so long with Finger?
I don't know.
I think the last time Ham answered that question, he said that the SEC had asked for financials, so maybe it's just waiting for the earnings
the financials
report.
had to come out, but the financials came out already.
I thought they did too.
It's got to be soon. There's nothing there.
It's got to be soon. It'll be approved. Mark says,
listen, just to stop for a second, for those who think a dividend doesn't work, this is a way to expose the short, get them short another 30 million shares or 23 million more shares, 10% of the 230, 10%. They're short that immediately. And the clown that's short 2 million shares, he's short another 200,000, 10%. And William, I had a thought about the 200,000, and shame on me, is that when that guy doubled up, when he added to his position, I should have had a gut feeling that they were still coming after it. I didn't think about it, but that's how it's playing out. This guy is manipulating it lower,
right?
And whoever the short is, the real short, is definitely tied to the naked short. They're working together.
So
and today, West Christian's going to be on a call at 6 o'clock.
No, that's I think that's the 24th. Or is that today?
I thought it was today.
Oh, let me look. Maybe I thought it was the 24th. Let me look. It's Junk Savvy, so you can follow when West Christian comes on Junk Savvy. Let's just see. Rescheduled for today.
See, that's not bad. I went to bed at 4:30 in the morning, and I saw that. That was the first thing I saw.
Oh, no. Investor meeting rescheduled for today, Monday, June 17 at 12:30. So has it already happened?
I don't know.
Okay, and then she says, join us for a conversation with Wes Christian, Monday, June 24. Monday, June 24. 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You sound like you feel like shit. Literally.
I'm actually reading about upset stomach, so just keep asking. I'll
so Mark actually sold half of that stock, so he has free shares now. Bravo.
There you go.
This gentleman is saying, Envoy is saying, bail-in bonds. They're already planning to settle everything with bail-in bonds. Are you talking about MMTLP? Mark says, I took my original investment out. Learned from him. Bravo. Check out that article. Where do I find the article, Envoy? I'll read it. I just don't know where to find it. Ham always said, sell and get your original money out. Thanks, Ham. Great advice.
You're welcome.
He wants to get the gas out.
I don't know what to do. Pepto-Bismol, what do I do? I don't know. Someone told me go get a probiotic. Blah, 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 blah. I don't know. I've taken 27 showers. I took 14 naps. And that's where I am.
I don't know. Go on a roller coaster.
I haven't thrown up, I haven't got the other end either, so I don't know what the hell it is. But I had it after dinner. The only thing I had that was different was my daughter made a beautiful chocolate raspberry cake with real raspberries on it. Maybe one of the raspberries was, what could she say, was planted by Jeff Easton. I don't know. So if there's a way to flush it out, I'm all ears.
I can't wait till I can afford to buy a new computer. Ordinary Angler is here. That's great.
Listen, this stock market is disgusting. I wish I could say more. You know, I put the photo of my friend in 2006 at the
No.
Can you hear me, Wayne?
Yeah, somebody just asked me, is GTII still in play? I'm just saying no and moving on.
Well, listen, follow Richard, and Richard will tell you if they're able to throw the CEO out. If the CEO gets kicked out, then I think you'll have a play.
Stop yelling. I'm sorry, Vin. I didn't know I was yelling, Vin. But
listen, my friends kicked in 20 million shares to the lawsuit. Not 2 million, not 200,000, 20 million. And they pay the lawyer to start this thing. So Richard is helping out. So these guys are not going away. And they're trying to force the CEO out so they can put a company in here that can do some good. That's where it stands. Does that mean it's good, bad, or indifference? I have no idea because, unless you can go get the CEO and drag him out by his hair, then we don't control any of that.
Okay, let's see if there's new questions. It's unbelievable.
One person has a stomach issue solution. That's what I was hoping for. I'm only kidding.
This guy is pushing for Nextbridge to go public. That is just what the shorts would want. They would push 1 billion shares into the public markets and the stock would be 10 cents so fast you couldn't even see straight. Great idea.
You're in a perfect spot. Just go through everyone's pushing to get it exposed. So it's got to happen.
Did Nextbridge get the money from the shares of MM? No, you know what? You don't understand the market. I don't want to get lost in explaining basic things. 47 cents on Northwest Bio. Once the approval is granted, it will gamma. Huge short here. Fed FDA is coming. Yeah. I hope you're right, but
listen. Who doesn't want to cheer for that? It's brain cancer. My friend died of brain cancer. I mean, people die of brain cancer. I cheer for it every day. What am I going to do? The SEC doesn't care. We do. So the only thing I can say is let's cheer for the SEC to get brain cancer and their families. So that's what I cheer for. Yes, unfortunately, but that's how I feel. Because they're wishing it on us.
Robert's going to the pool. That sounds great, to be sitting by the pool pretending not to check out the hot looking chicks. When do you think Gary Gensler will respond to the congressional letter, which was due yesterday?
I don't. How could he not? I think it's unbelievable.
I would guess maybe not any time soon. I don't know. He seems to delay everything.
It's remarkable.
Ben Palmer is telling you try vitamin D.
All right.
It helped Ben to take vitamin D. Just don't overdo it.
I'm going to take it in 5 minutes. I'll get up and get it.
Dandelion tea.
Ah, that's the one I was looking for. Very good. I like that one. I like that idea.
Dandelion.
Don't worry, my grass in the backyard is loaded with them. I just go pluck a fresh one.
That's what he's saying. Go eat a dandelion, not with any spray on it. Just get a dandelion.
I only have them because I don't spray anything. I'm the worst at keeping a lawn and a pool. My pool's green. My grass is like yellow with crabgrass on it. I'm 0 for 2.
Tell him to lay on his side with his leg in a P shape.
Yeah, I've been doing that. But I keep falling asleep. I don't want to keep falling asleep. I want to sleep tonight. Thank you very much.
Tell him to eat green eggs and spam. No, they're saying hot green tea. Hot green tea.
That's what I'm gonna
do. Finger 257.
Yeah. Every day.
This too shall pass.
That the volume you're seeing is all fraud. There's people buying it. Don't get me wrong. Out of the 200,000 shares again, whatever it is, I'm not looking at it. 90% of it's fake. And if I'm saying 90% of it's fake, I'm saying it because it is fake. And I'm not trying to hype up the short position because it's definitely not going up by a lot when you see these days. It's just selling back and forth, back and forth. They're buying settlement time and lowering the price so that they don't get a margin call. That's all that's going
on. Just seeing. There's no real questions here other than that. We can talk about Mookie Betts' injury.
And they just got the kid from Kansas City to replace him. It was funny.
Oh, they did?
Biggio, the guy's son.
Oh, that's Biggio. I thought Biggio, Kevin Biggio. I thought he was from Toronto, but okay, Kansas City.
Yeah, I think he was on Kansas City, and they traded for him last week. So they must have known something was up.
Well, he got hit on his.
Oh, is that what it was?
He got hit by a pitch. They didn't know that was coming.
If anyone's ever played hardball, and I did for a long time, even as an adult, I got hit by a 90-mile-an-hour fastball in my shin. I went to first base, and I wound up going around the bases, not being a tough guy. I didn't say anything. I wound up scoring. I went to the dugout, and the catcher and someone else looked at it. It says, it looked like there was like 9 pancakes stacked on top of my leg. They thought my leg was broken. That's how bad it looked. That's how hard those things are. It's unbelievable. I don't know how those guys keep running around and getting hit with that ball. It's tough. And yesterday on Father's Day, I played pickleball. I hit 5 fathers and 1 woman.
Antonio is suggesting tequila. He's not sure that it really works, but after 6 shots, you won't care anyway.
I couldn't do a shot of tequila. I can't do it. It's impossible. I'm not a hardcore drinker. That's tough. I always tell the story. My dad sent me. I went to a Broadway play with the date, maybe 18 or 20 years old. I forgot how old I was. And that's Hubert Alley, which they have all the bars there. They used to have all the bars there, William. You go there before the play. and I go in to get a drink with my date, trying to impress her. My dad tells me to order a what the hell was it called? Jambuie and Scotch. What the hell is it called? I forgot what it's called. It was Jambuie and Scotch. That was my first drink ever. Jambuie and Scotch. And the bartender looked at me and he says, "You sure?" He said, "You sure?" I said, "Yeah," like a tough guy. I was drinking that thing, trying to spill it on the floor so I didn't have to drink it. The guy goes, "Want another one, tough guy?" I said, "No."
My dad used to tell me when he was in the Soviet Union, he'd be invited out to meet these Russians, and back then, I don't know if they still do it, they do shots of vodka for everything. And after the first one or two shots, Dad would take his and try to pour it in the plant behind him, or throw it over his shoulder and onto the carpet. Or
the bartender was kept to me company, William. And he said, "Tough guy, want another one?" I looked at him, "No." Oh, it's called a rusty nail.
Rusty nail. Michelle said that.
Yeah.
So Busy says that Ham drinks Shirley Temples with a straw.
I could drink a lot of them.
Rusty nail. That's why that sounds horrible.
I'm just thinking about it. Yeah.
What is in a rusty nail? It sounds disgusting. Jambuie and Scotch. Ugh.
Yeah. That's what my good old dad told me to start out with.
Oh.
He started me out in the major leagues.
Ugh.
I couldn't get a 7 and 7, a gin and tonic, something that Busy Brands would drink, the girly drink. Yeah, that's what we needed.
Busy Brands dates Shirley Temple. No, just kidding.
I'm going to tell you a quick story about working on Wall Street. We had a friend that ran the box office for the Phantom of the Opera, Les Mis, and a couple other ones. I think Mamma Mia, a few of those things. I watched Phantom of the Opera 25 times.
20 Phantom of the Opera. I saw it 3 times.
I could have read the newspaper sitting there. I knew what was happening. The chandelier always fell on my head. It was right underneath the chandelier that fell.
Wow.
And everybody I went to, I got the playbook, the book, this, that, the same routine every time.
Unfortunately, I had to go to Cats 3 times in my life too.
I never saw that.
The worst. DJT is down 2 at 35.
It's unbelievable. It was $54. And if you don't think Devin Nunes, he's not just saying they're going to punish the shorts just to make a headline, this guy, Yeah. I don't believe they're like that. And William, maybe you could tell us what I may be able to do tomorrow. Maybe you can tell the people, because you told me. Why don't you tell me what I can do tomorrow in New Jersey?
Tomorrow, you can go to the public.
I might happen. Go ahead.
You can go to the public restroom if you take a muscle relaxer, and you might be able to get rid of your gas. No, I think I can say it, but I don't want to say. I don't want to say how. I don't want to say how, but Ham might be able. A friend, somebody that Ham has met with, and I was sitting there, might, and as far as I know, will be playing golf with Donald Trump soon, and it's possible that Ham may be invited to meet him. And I said, I want to go. But no, Ham is the guy to give a quick 3-point message to the next,
I'm done with
the former president.
If I get in 3 minutes, I'll have him charging up the hill.
Yeah, and we'll get Devin Nunes, and we'll have DGJT take over GTII.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Ham is scared to take shots at tequila because it would blow his toupee off his head, Busy Brands says.
It's like a divot from a golf course. It's a big piece of grass.
Yeah. Is that why you bring so many toupees? You cover up your divots as you go?
It depends what I'm doing. If I'm playing dice, I bring out the red one. If I'm going to a Rolling Stone concert, I bring out the long blonde-haired one. You know, I look like Johnny.
Did you used to go out disco dancing with polyester leisure suits and white shoes and silk shirts and a toupee?
Yeah, that is 100% the furthest distance from where I was. I was wearing Armani. I used to shop at Barney's. I was a trendsetter back in the day, my friend. I was one cool dude.
Armani's the best. Armani's the best.
I was wearing Armani Couture when I was 19 and 20 years old.
Michelle wants a signed bottle of Trump wine. Ben wants to meet Trump.
I'll do everything I'm trying to get well fast so I can do it. I'm sitting with an ice bag on my head. Hopefully that makes me feel better.
Mark saw Phantom of the Opera twice, Miss Saigon 3 times. I never saw Miss Saigon.
I didn't like Miss Saigon, yeah.
But I went to see this Nightmare Cats. Oh my God. Oh.
William, they were giving those tickets. So
I went, it was my girlfriend and her mother. The first time I met her mother, and I was like, oh God, can I get out of here?
Those are the low producers were getting those tickets.
Oh.
Come on. You must have had a bad month to go see that.
Oh, and then I saw the one that Chicago, which was okay, but I didn't need to see it the second and third time.
Yeah.
Once was enough.
Now I don't think anybody I know even goes down there anymore to go to 42nd Street. I don't know. I haven't been to a play in 10 years. That's not true. I think I went to see Jersey Boys, and
that might have been a good show.
And yeah, it was very good. And the Wicked was very good too.
I saw Wicked, yeah. In London. I saw it in London.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I can top that, William. We used to fly over on the Concorde. They go out to the Hippodrome in London. And
oh, wow. Wow. I've never been on the Concorde. I had a friend, a girlfriend really. But anyway, she flew on the Concorde, I think the same day or the day before that final crash.
I was on that plane. That was an Air France plane. I flew on that plane, and it was going to the French Riviera, someplace out that way, Nice, someplace like that. I think it was.
Oh, Big JR.
I was on that plane maybe a month before, I think it was.
Big JR recommends Simeticone or extra strength gas X for him.
That's what I have. Extra strength. Yeah, I've taken 2 so far. How many do I got to pop?
Don't take too many. You might explode.
It's supposed to reduce the gas.
Well, think about it. How does that reduce it? Oh, it absorbs the gas and becomes a solid?
The thing is so small. I don't know what it is. The pill is like so small. I don't even know. Got me. I will take another gas X, and I will start drinking green tea or the dandelion.
That's what I would do. Tea, dandelion, water. Just get fluids in your body.
Yeah, that's what I think it is.
Tom's asking, how can Gary Gensler ignore Congress? Very carefully.
I forget Congress. How do they ignore us? I wish we could sue them. We put the truck out there 15 times. How could you be a whistleblower?
They're not.
We've done everything to whistleblow. Not only that, they came back and told us we were right in GTII. What else can you say? And still, we have to wait. It's unbelievable.
Well, here, this is a question. It might be a plant, but it seems very innocuous. But it's the crux of the issue. Finger has been very quiet lately, still waiting for any concrete events which will move the stock price up.
Wait, time out. Stop right there. Listen, guys, public companies just can't make statements to help move the stock up. They'll go to jail. They call it manipulation for the public companies. They can't just say things. They have to get concrete.
Crappy Barra can, but CEOs can't.
He came out, bashed it, attacked it, put a fake story out, gets caught in the jack, gets caught in Southern District. Bark Brazil has to wait for the judge to rule on it before he says anything. Finger Motion, I was told, paid $100,000, more than that, to go after Capybara and stop that stuff. So the company wasted its money where we should just got Big JR and then get a few guys like, I guess, because he's Big JR, big guy, and go beat the shit out of him. That's what we should have done. That's what's going on.
But that's exactly right. The company can't manipulate the stock price, but we all know what's happening every single day. They just keep selling. That's all they do. They keep selling.
Company can't do anything. What are they supposed to say? Hey, stop it. Look at Devin Nunes, what he said. We're going to punish the shorts. And the only reason he could say it because he's Devin Nunes and Donald Trump.
Busy Brains is out after you today.
I don't know. He could say, he could put me in Macy's window with a cucumber.
He says, does Ham know the difference between Gas X and Viagra pills? And if so, does he need to know the difference? Joseph says, clear fluids and try ginger. I think that's a good advice. Ginger tea, ginger.
Oh, I thought you said to get my friend Ginger.
Oh, do you know Ginger? Is she a redhead?
I know a Ginger. I know
redhead
Ginger.
with green eyes and left-handed?
I know a Ginger. No, not a redhead.
Yeah.
What else we got, William?
That's really, other than this fascinating discussion of your internal.
Oh, my daughter's going to the store. Can you get some dandelion tea? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, dandelion.
I don't know. See if we have it.
Ginger too, or
we'll go pick some weeds. Ginger too. Get ginger. What about that? How do you make that?
Maybe just eat some chili.
Might as well finish it off, right? That's because I was bad yesterday and I hit all those poor dads on Father's Day.
Joseph says Biggio came from Toronto. I thought he did.
All right.
But maybe he originally was with Kansas City. I don't know. But
no, he was in Toronto. I remember him playing with the big guy who's the right hander. It's a beast. I forgot his name. Anyway, anything else, William?
Looks like there's one more question. Let's just look before I ask it. WULF.
I met the people with Wolf.
It's up 50 cents.
Those guys are the smartest guys. They started.
Man, I wish I just hung on to that from a year ago.
Yeah, it was so tough to do, though.
I know.
But I was at a presentation with 100 people. I spoke to management. These guys build nuclear power plants. They're the ones that started Mara and Riot back in the days. These guys are the brains behind the whole Bitcoin mining. These guys are the real deal. How they held it down, it's tied to my friends paid off the debt to Yorkville. That was about 70 cents, so about 2 years ago, I guess now. And they're all still long, they're Bitcoin guys, so they stay with it, and they're very wealthy, so they're little different players than we are. But those guys are real operators. And my friend from Puerto Rico says Bitcoin's going to 150,000. I have no idea where it is, but that's what he said.
You could add honey, Lou Bones is saying.
Okay, thank you.
She's saying
you sure everybody's trying to poison me? You sure all these people on our side, everyone's not happy with me, so I'm sure.
She said you could add some honey.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
And Buddy is saying eat fresh ginger or ginger candy or ginger tea. 1 teaspoon of baking soda in warm water.
That's the one I was looking for. That sounds like a real doer, the baking soda stuff.
I'm not going to read the rest of it. Gross.
Well, listen, I'm exhausted. Thank you very much. I've been up all night trying to take naps throughout the day, but hopefully I'll be ready, rock and rolling tomorrow. But tonight, see what happens.
Thanks for joining us. All right.
Thank you.
Barbara. Barbara. I think 100 is fine, but if you don't like it, ask them to reduce it, put it in writing, because I think they'll negotiate with you, or they'll might even waive the fee if you plead poverty, or if you let them know you feel like they are part of the cause of this problem. But anyway, in my case, I wonder if I threw it away because I can't find it anymore. But they clearly, E-Trade I'm talking about, clearly sent a FedEx to the depository trust, and then the depository trust sent one to me, which might have been had to be paid for by E-Trade. So I don't know if those both cost $35, $45. That adds up pretty much quickly. So, in a way, I think I don't know if 100 is the right number, but 40 or 60 kind of pays the cost of freight. Um, the reason Ham has gas problems for the first time someone blew gas out. Think got him excited thinking he's playing golf. I don't think he'll play golf. He doesn't know how to. Maybe Trump would like it because he can beat him. Um, yeah. So I don't know what else. We can see it out till 4 o'clock. Let's see if there's any news. It's too bad. Mookie Betts' injury is too bad. Um, um, there looks like there might be some peace in the Ukraine. There might be peace in the valley. Um, anyway, I won't, unless we have something to talk about, maybe I won't put you through the last 10 minutes. Melania Trump ex-staffer makes bombshell claim about marriage to Donald. Secret Democratic plot to replace Biden revealed. How Clinton, Obama, Pelosi, and Schumer would topple aging president. Where'd you hear it first? Well, there's no real news. Carolyn Bessette had a voracious appetite for cocaine. Certainly a beautiful woman. All right. No real questions. Let's see what the stock prices are doing. Not much that I can talk about, mostly in the red. And I guess we can leave it at that. It's 3:51, unless there's something to talk about. Remember that West Christian is next Monday night. I just spent a little time about move. Let me just say, if you want to leave your investment of how much money you put at risk in MMTLP, in the fake MMTLP at your brokerage firm, that is, of course, your option. But This gentleman is very active, which I give him great credit for. Gotta find it now. Gosh, it's Ocean Angler. Anyway, I can't find it. Anyway, Ocean Angler just put up that he is not going to move anything until he sees how the lawsuit that's going on against TradeStation turns out. I just caution that strategy, if you're waiting for a lawsuit, right now you have Mark Bazile and an investor moving forward, but to me, they have to puncture the arbitration clause. And I think it looks like he's got a really good argument, which would be fantastic. They're also trying to break the lending agreement, and maybe they can convert it to class action or something like that. But there's no evidence that the TradeStation lawsuit is going to be quick. What will be quick is if someone gets arrested. If they caught out anybody anywhere moving money. Let me see. Hello? Hey, do you want to go live as I sign off, or do you want me to call you right back? You want to? No, we didn't. You can tell them. I can put you on the speaker. Hang on a second. All right, you guys have a special treat, a special guest, the one and only jokester, Richard Hoffman. You're live.
Yeah, unfortunately, I got no jokes, but I did. How do you like that? It's just maybe a joke. It's maybe I saved you from a bad joke, which might be a joke in reverse. Double negative. Yeah, so somebody brought to my attention that as to GTII, which I find this interesting news, they filed an 8K today, and in the 8K, they indicated that on June 11th, they canceled and I guess returned in excess of 34 million shares that had been previously issued to officers, directors, and Mr. Rabari. So I thought that was an interesting piece of news.
Where'd they return it to? To the Treasury?
Cancel the shares.
Wow.
So I don't know what that means, but I thought it was an
They're listening to you, maybe.
Well, listen, we'd like them to return all the shares, right? So that's a good step in a good direction.
So how many shares would be issued now? Let me look.
Yeah, the problem is we don't really know between the end of 2023 and today, because they never filed the quarterly in 2024. So we don't know. They could some more
according to
shares.
OTC markets, which if you look up numbers that can differ from Yahoo, just what Richard just said, you don't know for sure, but they're showing outstanding shares of 370 million, restricted and unrestricted. So if they reduced it by how much?
30 in excess, because it was hard to tell if there were two sets of shares.
Mm-hmm.
They referred to officers and directors returning in excess of 34 million shares.
So then basically 10%, almost 10%.
Yeah. But then they also referred to Mr. Rabari, and they said that he had shares issued to him that were somehow, this is what they said. I don't remember the exact wording, but it said something like, somehow they were erroneously issued to Mr. Rabari, and they've been canceled too. I don't know how many of those shares, if that's separate from the 34 million, if that was counted in the 370 million, I don't know. So it might be more than 34 million, but at least 34 million, that's not an insignificant sum, obviously. But there was quite a bit of dilution in 2023, so I think there's more to go. On top of that, in that 370 million amount,
yeah,
if I'm not incorrect, 20 million of that is sitting in an escrow account at the attorney for GTII,
Mhm.
which was set aside for a particular acquisition that never occurred. So seemingly, those would be subject to being canceled also at some point. And if that's the
That's pretty
case,
good.
then you're talking about, getting closer to maybe 60 million shares out of the total float, which would be, running on closer to 20%,
That's
which would
awesome.
be, listen, that's good for everybody.
It's really
At
good.
least-
Really good.
Yeah.
Going
Yeah, so
in
that
the
was
right
interesting.
direction.
Yeah, definitely in the right direction. I wish this would have happened like 6 months ago. That's sometimes people are difficult to convince, and but it appears perhaps now that the people in charge there have kind of figured out that their days are numbered and they might as well. I'm sure this is an attempt to kind of cleanse their position and show that they were working out for the best interest of shareholders, et cetera.
Right.
And that's why they returned the shares, et cetera. But I think and that may be true. Anything's possible. But I also think it's a way of they're kind of trying to establish a defense for themselves that they were acting in good faith, et cetera. And we
Even
shall
if
see.
it's late, at least it shows they're trying to look out for shareholders.
Yeah, and it's the irony is all along. I mean, even up till I think yesterday,
Mhm.
I think I was on some space or something, and I made a comment. I would, as long as they did what they needed to do, so they left, they returned everything they needed to return, and they left town. I would be fine with that. I don't need anything beyond that. They kind of unfortunately pushed themselves into a corner when they had
Right.
many, many opportunities to kind of to bail. And that should be a lesson to everyone, because we're all going to get into situations that are bad at some point in time. Sometimes there's no good solution, but there's always a best solution. So we shouldn't let our ego or our whatever emotions let us make bad decisions. And I think, in part, that's what happened to management in GTII. And that's just my opinion, but that's kind of, if it ends up being the place that we asked them to do months ago, then that's probably not a wise strategy that they undertook.
So there's not always a good solution, but there's a best solution. I like that.
Yeah, yeah, because I'm sure you ever taken those multiple choice tests, because I have, where they tell you there's no real correct answer, but there's a best answer. And sometimes that's what we have to decide upon. A bunch of choices that we don't like, but there's one that's better than the others. And in this case, I think that's the thing they didn't do, and we don't know why that was.
Right.
I don't know the reason why that occurred, but it seems like they're kind of finally getting it. And again, all along the point was if they got out of there and they basically undid the harm that they did at the end, then why would we care anything beyond that? At least that's my personal opinion.
Right. And unrelated to GTII, and if the answer is no, it's no. Do you have any maybe further understandings or insight on MMTLP? And you don't have to. I don't know if there's anything to say.
I do, and I can't talk about it. So, but I will talk about it if what I understand and glean occurs. When it happens, I will come back and I'll talk about it.
Okay.
Sometimes, I've heard, the way it goes, I'm sure it's the same way. A lot of people reach out to you, they give you information, and, you take everybody at their word. But sometimes, for whatever reason, events do not occur as suggested, and everybody might be acting in good faith, but just things don't work out. So until it happens, I can't talk about anything.
Okay. All right. I wasn't trying to set up for something.
No, I appreciate. No, that was a good question. You're a good interviewer. That was a good question.
Just asking out of the blue. So
that's sometimes how the best information is obtained.
I listened to some of your live the other day. You did a great job. I quoted a couple obvious Springsteen lyrics because you're wearing the
Oh.
Springsteen T-shirt.
Yes, yes. So, well, thank you. Yeah, and I've been involved in the Tesla pay package thing, which has been an interesting dispute. That it involved the state of Delaware and the judge throwing out Elon Musk's pay package.
Oh, really? I
2018.
thought he moved to Texas for that vote.
He did. That's why. That was the reason they moved to Texas. But he had an original pay package in 2018 based upon performance, and he met all the performance goals.
Right.
And they were like crazy goals, but he had crazy performance. So as a result, he got stock options, and the stock options were worth like $2.3 billion.
Wow.
But he never exercised. He hadn't exercised any of them at the point. Somebody filed a class action, led by a plaintiff who owned 9 shares of Tesla, and basically they sought to throw out the pay package. And eventually a trial was held. The pay package was thrown out because it was deemed too much. And even though the shareholders approved and ratified the pay package, the court found that they didn't get enough disclosure and it wasn't a fair vote. So then there was what you heard. There was a movement, another retail movement, that's what's interesting. Another retail movement pushing to have a revote, in essence.
Call from Peter Melvado.
The judge didn't say you couldn't have a pay package, just said the original pay package was tossed out.
Right.
So everybody had to go back to the beginning. So what they did is they let the shareholders reaffirm that vote on their pay package, which they did. And they also then had as another provision a move from Delaware to Texas because of this lawsuit about the pay package.
But
And that was approved. That was approved also.
it would be hard to recreate options that had that kind of a gain if they're canceled in Delaware, New Jersey, wherever it is, and then recreated in Texas. How can you go back as of? But anyway, I guess they'll figure it out.
Yeah, no, listen, that's a very reasonable question. But the point was that wasn't even the case. So in essence, the pay package is thrown out, but it doesn't say you can't give him another pay package. He obviously relied on the fact that he was going to get money or stock to be at Tesla from 2018 through 2024.
Right.
And so there would be something paid out. But the real issue is in those actions, the attorneys get in Delaware, the way the law is set up, they get a percentage of the benefit that's earned. And the attorneys claimed that the benefit was that stock, when it could have been exercised, those options could be exercised, would have been worth $55 billion.
So the attorneys get what percentage? 40%?
They were very generous. The highest percentage ever given in Delaware was like 27%. They only wanted 11%. So
Of 55 billion.
Yeah, so they only wanted $6 billion, and they didn't want it in cash. They wanted it in stock. So they were going to ask Tesla to issue something on the order of 29 million shares, which would have also caused dilution to all shareholders of 1% across the board. But that action was for the benefit of Tesla. That's, you have to think about it. That's what the underlying class action was for. It was supposed to benefit Tesla and its shareholders.
What does
and in the end, the result would be, if these guys were correct, that Tesla would have to give them 29 million shares. So it's an interesting angle.
So what would the person who had 9 shares get out of this rigmarole?
They get a bonus. They would get a bonus. They would be like, they're a class action plaintiff, not their first one, and they would get like 10 or 15 grand on top of their position. That's it. They don't have to do anything. They just exist and have a name, and they're a shareholder of some amount. But the attorneys, that's where the whole case is.
Everything is corrupt.
Yeah, well, this is ridiculous. I understand, by the way, there are cases where our class action I understand being meaningful, and I use the Aaron Brockovich case, where the water's polluted and people are dying and they're getting poisoned. Okay.
Or the John Revolta case. What was that one with the leather up in Massachusetts? There's a good book, but they also did the TV show. Anyway, it was about the tanning poison in it.
Okay. But those I understand, people getting harmed, and okay, that's reasonable. But just like pure money, there's no benefit to Tesla or the shareholders, actually a detriment. So what is
it's just for the lawyers?
That's it. Strictly plaintiffs, lawyers in a action only for their benefit. It's like almost one of the purest cases of plaintiff's greed, because it actually works to the detriment of the actual real client. So that's ongoing right now, and they voted to move, and now the attorneys for Tesla are trying to get the judge to revisit her decision in light of the fact they reaffirmed the vote. And so it's interesting where it is.
It is interesting.
They haven't decided yet on the attorney's fees. They haven't had a hearing on that. And somebody will appeal somewhere or the other. But
will the court feel those fees are reasonable when the judge at the same time argued that Elon Musk's salary was unreasonable?
Well, it's interesting. Bill, you ask really good questions. This particular judge, who hates Musk, by the way,
all right,
clearly hates Musk, and it's in Delaware, so you can imagine that there could be political implications, by the way. But she said in a prior case that plaintiffs' attorneys should not get, unreasonably compensated where there's no great benefit to the shareholders. So she kind of, unfortunately, said something that in this particular case, if I'm in Tesla's camp, that's the language I cite, and they're suggesting that, and the method a lot of the states use to calculate attorney's fees is hours times whatever the rate would be for that kind of specialty in that locality.
Right.
So, if it's 100 hours times $1,000 an hour, something like that. And there could be like adjustments because it's late in the case, or it's a specialty, or it's a whatever. There could be adjustments, but usually not more than 3 or 4 times that amount.
Right.
So in this particular case, the plaintiffs attorneys were seeking 417 times that amount, which, so they were really going for it. And basically the kind of suggested side. So on one side we have 6 billion. On the other side, it's in the area of between 13 and 50 million, even though they think it should be 0. But that's the side. So that's the gap. We have a little bit of a gap between the two. And it'll be interesting to see what the judge, who'll probably try to pick an amount that she thinks would stick on appeal, which I'm guessing if it got to this point, it would be somewhere between like 50 to $100 million.
Does she get part of that fee? The judge?
We don't know.
It seems like all these systems that are out there are designed to just strip out money away from American society, American investors, workers, to lawyers, to bankers.
Yeah.
To...
I don't know if it's more corrupt than it was in the past, or we're just aware of the corruption more, because it's just more trans. As funny as it sounds.
Oh, because of Twitter and et cetera, we know about it.
Yeah. And people look. There's a lot of curious people, and now they have tools to look. In the past, it probably was just luck. You stumbled.
That's a good point, actually. That's a good point.
But I don't know. Maybe we are more corrupt. It's possible we are more corrupt, but I don't know. And like every generation feels like they're the most of whatever. That kind of changes too. But anyway. So that case is interesting also. And again, what's interesting about that is the retail community has been super active to the extent they submitted, because it relates to MMTLP when I think about it, and they submitted to the court something on the order of 6,000 letters.
Wow.
Uh,
In the
in
Tesla
support of-
case.
Yeah, in the Tesla
Wow,
case, in
wow.
support of the position of Tesla, and it's part of the record. You know, whether they look at it or not, they know it's in there, and it's
Wow.
and they
6,000.
put together 6,000. And you know, Tesla has a lot of retail shareholders. There's a big community of Tesla shareholders, but it is that same retail mindset that you're aware of in MMTLP and all the other ones that we talked about. So it's interesting that that's not just isolated, and it's effective, and it definitely was effective. It was also effective, and you don't think about this. I think Ham mentioned this once. When they were doing the voting, not all brokerages were providing notice or providing opportunities for people to vote. So they, for whatever reason, I can't tell you why, and there was a problem.
Well, the votes are all skewed anyway because of the counterfeit shares, but anyway.
Well, yeah, but in Tesla's case, the retail is larger than institutional.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, not a lot are like that, but it is. And so people were following the voting process, and there were a lot of people, especially if they were outside the country, who didn't get an opportunity to vote. And through an organized group of retail shareholders, they literally would contact the brokerages and force them to make sure they were in compliance, setting out ballots for people to vote. And as a result, they got a good amount of turnout. And that now is a kind of in terms of retail, this probably is something that might be valuable elsewhere, but they're trying to make Tesla have the highest vote, period, so that all people are considered, and there's no, because again, they think, and I don't know, but they think the fact that brokers don't give retail notice of their right to vote, or actually literally do that, is not just coincidence, that it's a strategy, and strategy to help big money, not the little guy. So all that again is kind of in common with MMTLP and that mindset, and whatever the GME people are doing, or all those people that retail are taking in a much more active role, and I think that's great.
That is great, and when you put it that way, maybe it will push for reform and more transparency. I don't know what's going to make it change, though.
Yeah, well, kind of with the way we work in this country, there'll be some event that will really paint the picture that cannot be ignored, and that'll probably be the trigger event. But I think, as long as people continue to fight, that you can obviously see the number of people that have knowledge about whatever is going on continues to increase. At some point in time, whatever, I don't know what that point is, but at some point we'll reach the point of no return, and it will be, we'll be the majority, not the minority at that point in time. And I do believe it'll get fixed. Just, when that is, I don't know. But I'm really
after a collapse.
Yeah, it could be after a collapse. That's sometimes a calamity is what unfortunately, sometimes it's a calamity that is required to get us to move. But but I definitely did see kind of MMTLP in the Tesla group. So I was really happy to see that. And again, I was happy that they were really productive, organized, and powerful. And to me, every group can do it. Not easy, but every group can do it. I'm sure as time goes on, it's going to become kind of like a package. It'll be a structured thing. You'll be able to know how to take on this particular cause. So I was really uplifted by the Tesla community.
It's tremendous, and it shows that when we work together, it can have an impact. I'll buy 9 shares of Nvidia if you want to sue them.
You know what was interesting? You know what was interesting is, and I'm sure you follow Elon Musk at least generally,
Yeah.
and notwithstanding whatever somebody feels about him personally, he's an amazing person, and amazing engineer, and obviously it speaks for
He
itself.
slept with Amber Heard.
Okay, well, not everybody's perfect, right? Or everybody is perfect. I don't know which way you go there. But when his pay package was up and in dispute, obviously he's super rich, doesn't need any more money, right? Obviously. But it was like a personal attack on him. And if you had watched that meeting the meeting was on June 13th in Texas.
Yeah.
If you had watched it after they announced the vote, it was like he had been validated by everyone. So it was really personal to him, and he was hurt. He was hurt to the extent people wouldn't, they wouldn't adhere to a contract they previously agreed to, which is a whole issue by itself. That's more of a legal issue, but personally hurt that he wasn't valued for what he had brought to the table. And it was amazing to see his persona shift after he got validated. And he was so, you could see, he was literally.
I'm on his side. This is a guy that overpaid for Twitter $40 billion. And it's given us the power to have, he appointed that person from.
By the way, interesting what you said that case, that remember the Twitter case that was in Delaware, was in front of that same judge.
Oh my gosh.
Judge McCormick was the judge on the Twitter case, and Judge McCormick is the judge on the ongoing pay plan case.
Oh my gosh.
She didn't do him any favors on the Twitter case, because obviously
she has a hard on for him.
Yeah, definitely. And she probably should have recused herself one way or the other, because she's not.
He doesn't seem to be sexist or anything. Why would she?
No. It may be just like a again, I'm guessing.
Oh, maybe it's the political that he opened up Twitter. Yeah.
Well, it's political that she's in Delaware, and maybe she has an affiliation. And again, I'm not a fan of any of these characters, but what I suspect is that she's in Delaware. She may be in her position because of Biden, or she may be supporting Biden in the election. Biden obviously did not have any kind of rapport with Elon Musk. In fact, I don't know if you knew this, but let's say when Biden's first year in office, they had a meeting at the White House of all the leading American EV companies. Now, the only American EV company that sells
you're fading out if you walk away from the iron. You're there. All right, better.
Okay. So he had a meeting at the White House, private meeting of all the leading American EV car producers.
Mm-hmm.
The only one who was selling any cars really is Tesla. The rest are negligible amounts.
Mm-hmm.
And the only one that was not invited was Elon Musk.
Unbelievable.
And so again,
it's political.
It's so.
And his premise, as far as I can tell, his premise is simple: have an open marketplace of ideas. He's not putting his weight on the scale one way or the other. But
yeah, you're correct, because he's open sourced a lot of these things.
Yeah.
Tesla just believes that they can manufacture better than anybody else. So, we could tell you here, you know what I mean by that? I can give you the instructions to the puzzle. Some guy can do it in 5 minutes, and some guy can do it in 2 hours. So,
well, to me, the big thing of Tesla, I agree with you on everything you're saying, but it's the battery. If they could come up with a battery technology that can be standardized, they own the world. And that ties into MMAT, by the way, who has a battery, as I understand it, a membrane that keeps them from exploding. The other thing to watch about Tesla, I think with this X and money, like PayPal like systems, but more is their mobile phone. His mobile phone and the data in it might be revolutionary. There's a lot to like potentially
Yeah,
about Tesla.
it's funny you mentioned MMAT. So I originally was in Tesla, and then
Really?
I was, yeah. So I was, still am, and I was just kind of looking at other companies, and batteries are a huge issue. Obviously,
Batteries,
in the
yeah,
EV industry, it's all battery. If
it's
you can
all
figure
about
out, whoever can figure out like a revolutionary battery, solid state, something like that, because that's the holy grail.
Yeah.
They're the king. So I looked, and I was looking at companies that all were in that in that box,
Yeah.
and I found MMAT. I looked at it because I
Wow.
saw that it did have I bought stock in that MMAT because of that. It did have exactly what you said, and it had a system that if it got too hot, it would melt and prevent a fire. So that it would basically smother whatever had happened right when it started, and there would be no fire. And at that point in time, I think there was. Do you remember the Chevy Bolt? There was an EV car, the Chevy Bolt.
Yeah.
They had a battery problem.
I remember the Ford Pinto.
The Ford Pinto had a gas tank problem, but the Chevy Bolt had a battery problem. So at one point, GM sent out a notice to all the owners: do not park your car in your garage.
Ooh.
Park it on the street, because they had so many fires from their batteries.
Wow.
I think they recalled every car, and they redid the batteries. But anyway, I think to me, it's interesting in terms of the retail community standing up, and it's again, I believe in the freedom to contract, and if people want to pay somebody because he has value, then you shouldn't renege. And obviously, you can only imagine, right? You start a gig, you do it based upon some compensation agreement. You put in 6 years, and then somebody says you get nothing.
You can't if you give employee options, unless there's fraud and they meet the parameters and it goes much higher, the reward is much higher than anticipated, you can't take that away.
No, I think it's just not right, obviously. And unfortunately, in Delaware, Delaware used to be the state that everybody used to incorporate because it was very favorable for companies. There was privacy and protection. It's not deemed so much today, so that's why Tesla moved to Texas. There's a lot of companies now that incorporate in Nevada also. Part of it is confidentiality. Part of it is just it's better for the company. They can withstand attack like this. Because what happened in this particular case in Delaware, because Elon Musk was the beneficiary of the payment plan, he's deemed to be conflicted when it's that kind of. This is under Delaware law, so you can find it. Whether it's fair is a different question, but you can find it.
He's the CEO. What's his confliction?
He's getting paid based upon the plan that's at issue. And under Delaware law, if that situation exists, then the burden of proof switches.
Yeah.
So the defendant now has the burden of proof, not the plaintiff, which is a problem. And in Delaware, under those circumstances, instead of the normal business judgment rule, and the business judgment rule means, if you're a CEO of a company and faced with a decision, as long as you're not on crack and you use reasonable efforts, you're safe. Nobody can challenge your decision.
Right.
In this particular case, with a conflicted shareholder, director, officer, the standard is the entire fairness of the transaction, which who knows what that means other than the fact it's super strict. And so you have to prove it's fair, not that it's unfair.
Yeah, but in this case, it was deemed fair before it had real value. Now, as you look back, it has massive value, and they're determining it's unfair. At what time do you take the snapshot of when it's fair?
at the time the deal is done. But you do
Exactly.
look at,
Exactly.
yeah, but you do look at the, whatever the goals are, because, you
Right.
look at when, just, it was something like this. It really was. So a lot of it was tied to market cap.
Oh, if
So
it's
when he took-
easy goals, you're saying?
Well, I mean, you could, but his were not. Like,
Right.
for example, when he started doing
Yeah.
this pay package, the market cap of Tesla was under $50 billion. When he completed that period of time, it was over $650 billion.
Wow.
So
That's performance.
Yeah, it's 13x,
Yeah.
more than 13x. So, and that's within 5 years. Within 5 years. So
Wow.
who wouldn't take a 250% return a year, right? So performance has been great. That's but the judge still said that because no other CEO is paid like that, but most importantly, the real reason, because a judge has a bias for whatever reason, that's the real reason. We can pretend with legal reasons, but that's the real reason. And she's trying to exercise control over him, make his life miserable, and make it difficult. But the effect is all those companies who went to Delaware to incorporate, and Delaware, as far as I know, doesn't have a lot of industry. I know they don't make a lot of wine. It was a joke.
Credit cards, insurance, and corporations.
Yeah,
and the Biden family.
Yeah, whatever. But the fees from
and the beach, Lido's Pizza.
I can't imagine any of those are big, but I think the fees, the corporate fees, that probably is significant.
Yeah.
And Tesla's not the first one to move. There have been other companies that moved, and after this, because it was a public issue, there'll be other companies that move, especially, if you have a dominant CEO, their interest is getting out, more than anything else. So it'll be interesting at what happens. And but anyway, it was interesting because of retail's involvement.
It's very interesting, and it sounds like it's had an impact. What intrigues me is this whole thing. He moved to Texas. I don't know. It'll be interesting to follow the results. I think he deserves the pay myself.
Yeah, listen, if the guy, I think if performance-based pay and the person meets their goals, I really don't care what they make.
Exactly.
It's irrelevant.
Exactly.
If you're, if you own Tesla stock during that time period and you 13x, do you really care what he's getting paid? In fact, maybe you want him to get paid more. Maybe you want him to get paid more.
And I'd rather it went to him instead of these lawyers.
Well, I would say if it goes to somebody who's producing, then it's justified.
Right.
If if he's really, because obviously, Tesla was almost out of business. So to get it to the point now, we'll see where it goes from now. It really depends if they get on, the full self-driving, if that develops as they're hoping and expecting it to. That's really where their value is in the future, at least in the near future. But to this point in time, the value created has been, tremendous. And I'm sure his future pay package in Texas is going to be the same setup. And again, if he takes Tesla from 650 billion to 6.5 trillion in 6 years, do I care what he gets paid? I don't. I really don't.
It's very interesting. That's a whole topic that I'll look into it. That's a very interesting
it's kind of a unique the case
game on the field right now.
Yeah. Anyway, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer anything.
I don't see any questions. I don't know if it's because I'm being boycotted or they're not interested, but the on GTII, I actually think that's really good news, what you described, that they're reducing the number of shares out. And it seems like if we can ignore, any implied previous I don't know what, wrong, not wrongdoing, but mistakes. Maybe they're trying to, work with shareholders again. I don't know, but
Yeah, listen, if I'm going to put it out here because I do it, because I've done it many times. I would be happy to work out any resolution directly with them.
exactly
Happy.
same here.
Yeah, nobody, honestly, part of the problem is, I'm sure they had concerns, whatever. But I generally don't fight, generally. And certainly if you work with me, I'm not going to fight. But I reached out to, the company, how to be, 150 times without any response, zero. And that would be like, explain to me why this is not what I think it is, Well, if you don't respond to that, if I accuse you of X and I said, please explain why X is incorrect, and you don't, and you don't respond, and I have reason to believe
Well,
that
as
X
long
is
as
correct.
you have standing to be asking the questions, which you do.
Yeah, I know that in my interactions with them, everything I asked, I think I was aware of.
Right.
So it wasn't like I didn't know the answer. But I gave them the opportunity. And it wasn't just I gave them the opportunity to answer the question. I said I give them the opportunity, just get out of here, give the shares back, just clean up with your mess, get out of there, and go on. I don't have to have any future involvement.
Right.
It doesn't have to be anything punitive.
Right.
I wasn't interested in anything punitive. It doesn't do anybody any good.
Right.
But anyway, so we'll see where it goes from here. I would guess it's probably not going to be the last move. That's just my guess.
Cool. And we'll wait. It sounds like maybe something's going on with MMTLP. That's interesting. And I'm going to follow Tesla. And next week we listen to Wes Christian. So there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah, you should. I think you'd find that very interesting, the Tesla scene and what goes on there, because it's a very sophisticated shareholder group, and I've learned a lot in that community.
Well, if I can, I don't know if I'll be good at studying it very quickly, but maybe we can have a call and go back and forth, and I can ask some questions. Tesla's a really interesting story, and I gave away making cars isn't revolutionary. The batteries, maybe the alternative money system, and the phones might, well, of course, satellite, but I don't know if that's tied into Tesla. That might be a different company.
Well, they do. It's a different company, but Starlink is his company.
Yeah.
But it's also robotics, because a lot of the manufacturing is now robotics, and in the future will be almost in time.
Can he build that in Texas, or do he has to do it in China, Malaysia, or somewhere like that, or Mexico?
But they still do it cheaper.
Unbelievable.
Because the only ones who actually have a profit from EVs are Tesla and BYD. It's a Chinese company, a very large Chinese company. They make not to the same. They're a lower level car, but a higher volume,
right?
And a lower profit margin, but they make money. But everybody else doesn't. It's hard. It's hard to make profitable vehicles, EV vehicles. So anyway, it's interesting. You should check it out.
I will check it out. He's very hardworking, by the way, and he's smart.
Yeah.
And he must be ruthless on costs.
Yeah, I think they are. I heard them talking. Actually, he's talked about that on the 13th. He said what he looks at is literally there's maybe in the car there's 5,000 pieces, individual pieces, and it's literally you got to save pennies on each piece.
Wow.
And that's how he views the job. Wow. And he says, by the way, that's the terrible part of the job. That's the part he hates the most.
Boring.
But that's where, it is boring, and you're making theoretically, you're making really minimal progress, but it's very impactful when you look at it, if you do that 5,000 times.
Right.
So,
Right.
anyway, Bill,
All right,
nice
Richard.
chatting. Nice chatting.
Thank you very much. We'll do it again, maybe live.
Yeah, anytime.
All right. Cheers. Bye.
Have a great.
Call ended.
All right. I'm gonna end it because it's very inactive. So I assume no one's really interested. So anyway, I'm gonna say peace, love, and happiness to everybody. Please say prayers for Jenny L and all of the people in this community who have been hurt. And that was a great conversation. Let's pray for a breakthrough too. So anyway, thanks for joining, and we'll see you tomorrow.